Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. Tamikaze. What's going on, Joe? These 200 AFRM calls, I'm not gonna lie, that was literally the banger of the day, pretty much. What's going on, Keith? I don't know. Tom is literally, I think he set the bot room on fire. Literally on fire. It's going insanely crazy. Wait, did I even put BGFV on my watch list? Actually, yeah, wait, I did. BGFV to the moon. The FOMO overnight and going into tomorrow. I said, I think it was yesterday morning, yesterday night, or the night before. I was like, I want to see the morning I wake up to double digit gains pre market, and that's when we really move. So I'm hoping that happens tomorrow, because if that happens tomorrow, it's gonna be wild. So let's get started here real quick, and then I'll probably wait for BGFV to really look at that one last. Because I really didn't even look at the chart today, to be honest with you guys. So I'll look at it. That'll be the last one I look at. But just so we can start off, today I actually took the day off myself today. Kind of just like a mental break. You know, we trade for a living pretty much. You know, thinking the fact that we have to trade every single day. So today was just a mental break. Spent it a little bit with the family. And you know, this kind of days where you know this is the lifestyle you trade off of, right? You pretty much want that open free lifestyle when you could trade when you want, how you want, when the opportunity is present. And so today was more so just a relaxing day. You know, everyone being home for Veterans Day, it just made a lot of sense to just, you know, sit back and relax with the family. So I did miss a lot of the action today, but I actually had my phone still going off with notifications, and AFRM just lit it up pretty much. I think that was literally the one banger of the day. You literally could had multiple opportunities to trade AFRM today, and you just had to sit on your hand pretty much. You would literally had two opportunities. You either took the first trade or the second trade, and you could have sat on your hands for the rest of the entire day and been happy with those gains. And that's usually what you have to think about, you know, pretty much every day. Just wait for the right setup, and if it executes right, then you can literally just sit it out for the rest of the day rather than force more trades. So getting started then, let me actually start with futures. I'll go through the watch list and then we'll talk about some of the alerts along the way there. But starting off with S&P futures, I did see that we got the gap up that we wanted overnight. It didn't hold too well going through the middle of the day here. We got a little bit of a bear flag formation on the S&P 500, which pulled us back just a bit intraday. And then we ended up pretty much just closing right around flat. So we ended up recovering off of that breakdown, but I'm still waiting for this key level. We ended up getting pretty much still under that key level that I'm watching of 46.56 on S&P futures. So I want to see us reclaim that. The other thing that we ended up doing was we actually double topped intraday. That's really what caused the breakdown on the rising wedge. So we hit a double top right around 46.61 on S&P futures, and that's what really broke us down. So once we're able to reclaim and really get back over that 46.56 level and hold it, that's when the fun is really going to start, and especially with the Super Fortuna, which I'll get to Nasdaq in just a second. But we want to get over 46.56 on S&P futures. We end up holding that, then I'm opening range up to right up to about 46.80 is where we're going to be targeting first, and then we can end up potentially going higher than that, in which then we even open up range to about, what is this, near 4708 if Nasdaq really wants to take us there, and that's where we piggyback off of the for Super Fortuna. But again, 4656, we need to break that over and really hold, and then this double top level 4661 also needs to be reclaimed as well. All right, so we'll watch that on S&P futures. Now, of course, going into Nasdaq here, and this is where the Super Fortuna really comes into play. And I'm just gonna take a quick peek at one quick thing before I actually analyze that chart. I just want to look at one quick thing. Let me actually see it real quick. I'm really looking to see what time that Super Fortuna really came out. So it was practically the very end of the day, pretty much. That was 3:48. I just wanted to see the time. But zooming out here, again, recapping from previously, if you remember, we ended up breaking the uptrend. And what I actually noticed today, because of the price action that we ended up getting, the bottom that we had from yesterday, we pretty much formed a descending channel. And this, what was the interesting part when Super Fortuna came out, and I actually looked at futures after hours, was this one low sum candle right here. that ended up looking like we're gonna break that downtrend. And so that was a beautiful part when I saw the Super Fortuna, and I actually had the notification, and I went and I charted futures later on after the market closed, and I saw we had this one candle. I'm like, all right, now I understand why Super Fortuna could actually trigger this, and this could actually really run. So I'm behind Super Fortuna here. I do think that we've practically broke this downtrend. Do we need to confirm tomorrow morning? That's certainly, yeah, that is completely true. And then my next fib here that I have is around 61, is around 16,160. So if we get over that, that will really be convincing for the Qs to continue their momentum and get some momentum going off of that Super Fortuna alert. So that'll open up range. Thinking about the fact that when I saw that Super Fortuna also, the first thought in my mind was what takers in tech is literally going to lead the rally if the Qs are really going to run. And the first thing that came to my mind, of course, was Amazon. We saw a pretty much outrageous flow coming in on Amazon the past few days. They were buying up strikes from like 3,700 to 4,000. So I can understand Amazon leading this rally. The other name that crossed my mind was also Microsoft, because Microsoft does have another leg to go higher. So that's another name that I'm watching as well. We did see also Netflix we saw a nice sign of life from Netflix. So that was one that's also looking like it's going to be breaking that downtrend. So it's in breakout mode as well. So pretty much the stars are aligning as far as big cap tech and a few names. The other one that actually crossed my mind also when I saw the alert was for Apple. We actually saw the unusual flow. I believe it was unique that it actually hit in that room. We actually saw we had an Apple Nimbus call that came through, and buyers actually stepped in for 145 calls, but they bought for December 23rd. When I actually saw them, I'm like, but why are they buying Apple calls? We already had earnings. They already guided down. There's not necessarily a catalyst that's really known other than the Christmas rally in which they bought for pretty much around Christmas time. So that actually aligned as well once we ended up having that Super Fortuna for the end of the day. So we could potentially see that one start to get some kind of ground towards the upside. So that's where I pretty much I'm looking at when I'm looking at big cap tech. I mean, Tesla's just being Tesla. I think it's a little bit range bound between that 1,000 mark to 1,100. We can go anywhere between that. They can end up gapping us up and pretty much fade us out again like they did today. So that's something to also keep in mind as well. But again, we got that little bit of a break, but we just want to see a confirmation come tomorrow morning, and then Super Fortuna will take it from there. All right. So that's it for Nasdaq. Jumping into AFRM, I'll get in there right now so we can just get that one out the way. That was a beautiful price action. Kind of want to go through today's price action and the way that the actual alerts came through today, which was just insane because they literally came back repeatedly. So we ended up getting a level 3. That was around 10:45 in the morning. That actually caused the first pop. And I think Tamakaze got in the moment that he ended up seeing the whale alert, which actually literally came in at the same time just after that one. He literally got in the moment, the second the alert came out, he got in and he actually posted a meme. He's like, I'm in. I think it was literally about 60 seconds later, he literally said that he was already out and he got 25%. So I can only imagine if you got in at 10:45 here from this move, which it actually triggered at the price point of, they triggered that. Let me see what price point they actually triggered. 149.70. So from 149.70, they topped this out at 154. So that was a multi-dollar move right there. Insanely crazy. And Tamakaze pretty much got 25%. I think it was just a matter of, I say seconds, but it might have been like 5 minutes that he was in there for. Right? So that was one opportunity that you had to get into AFRM. Then later in the day after the whale alert, you ended up getting another alert around 1:27 in the afternoon. And that was somewhere around here. Yeah, pretty much when we went into this consolidation mode, this flat line, you got another level 3 and then you just took off from there. And that was actually a golden sweep that triggered that alert. They hit the 160s for the December. That was two golden sweeps that actually hit on that alert, and I just sent it to the moon pretty much. So that was your second opportunity on AFRM. So that's why we say pretty much the alerts are pretty much your guide for the moves of the day, because they literally, these are actually set for high limits orders pretty much, and they literally hit about $1 million order on that. So again, you had two opportunities on AFRM. So you could have either took one of these trades right here and that would have been it for the day. That literally would have just made the bread that you needed for the day, and you would have moved on for tomorrow. All right. So that was it for RAM. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Ultimately, if I zoom out, uh, the target I really wanted to look at ultimately going into the next few weeks, rather months, was 170 off of this, and we see continuation here. But it may take a little bit more time than that to really just get this pushing. I mean, they did buy far expiration, so let's see exactly how much more gas we end up getting out of this one, out of the tank, just quickly to end the week. Otherwise, going into next week and the following weeks, I think it's going to take a little bit more momentum, a little bit more longer to get this right up to the high also of that 176. So keep in mind, I mean, that was literally paid within minutes though of those alerts coming out. So we'll see what the momentum is tomorrow, what the continuation is. But bigger picture, we're looking for all-time highs here by the end of the year, more than likely, and beyond. So I wouldn't even be surprised if they actually push this to 200 by the end of the year, because now you have momentum. You already had the catalyst that's really pushed it. I mean, if they end up having more news, they already partnered with Amazon, so they have exponential potential right here to go to the upside. All right. So that one's going to be on watch tomorrow. Nvidia, I actually thought about putting this one also on the watch list because I did mention about the big cap tech names behind the queues, but also because of Nvidia, and the reason why is because they also have earnings coming up next week. So that's something to keep in mind. They may end up running this up right into the earnings to the all-time highs, and then likely profit takers step in at that point if you know they decide that Nvidia's earnings is not impressive enough. So granted the move that we already have, it would make sense for them to run this to all-time highs and then for profit takers to step in during earnings. That would be my mental thought process. But what I'm really watching for is really for the move right over this 307, mid 307. I want to say 307.60 would be that mark that I'm watching for to break over. And then I will target this up to 313. And that's pretty much just a short-term trade that I'm looking for, not necessarily all-time highs to swing right into the earnings. Because I know premiums are going to be pretty expensive there for next week. So I'll decide if I really want to swing into next week or not, or if hopefully I can just get that move tomorrow if we break that 307.60, and then I can trade this up to 313. That'll be beautiful if that ends up happening just tomorrow. That actually may end up being a beautiful 0 day trade. So I will lock in on that one as well. Keep an eye on it. I'm gonna skip BGFV. I don't really want to look at that right now. Roblox was another one, and actually I actually hated the fact that I wasn't on live because I know that me and Avery actually swung Roblox calls once we had that day after the earnings, and it ran to like 310 here. It popped up to. Yeah, it popped up to like 110, and we ended up swinging calls, and they slaughtered us the next morning. That was just some bogus type of stuff where they just dropped it $7 pre-market, kind of like Airbnb today. That was just a slaughter they did into Power Hour. They ran the stock Airbnb all day, and then they just literally slaughtered it right into Power Hour, which I'll pretty much just give you a glance of that real quick. On Airbnb, I think no one really looked at that. Kind of went under the radar, but they literally ran the stock practically all day. So they ran it beautifully, and they took it off from 192, popped it all the way up to 197, about a $5-6 move here, and then they just flushed it right into Power Hour, gave it all back and more. That was literally just nuts. I don't understand what that price action was or why they ended up doing that. Bigger picture, and I actually had this on the newsletter. I actually didn't even change anything for that matter. Everything stayed the same, but I end up still do having this going up to my supply zone at the top here. So I'm expecting this to get back over 216. So 216 to 220 was my ideal target. Now the only thing that does concern me, and that would be the fact if they end up pulling this back further off of that end of day gap, would be rather this gap that's down below here. So they may end up wanting to either test this gap or filling the gap on Airbnb, and that's not going to be very healthy for those of you that are already in it. Now, if they end up going into this gap fill, I will buy that up with ease and swing it for an outdated, pretty much what 2-3 weeks out. I would definitely do that, but that's what to me is right now is a wait and watch. So don't force that situation just yet. I would wait to see if they want to retest the gap fill below, and if they end up testing that gap fill below, then that's when you take that entry there. If they end up getting the bounce off of the gap fill, all right. But back to what I was looking at as far as Roblox. Roblox gave us a nice little bounce today. I wanted to be on voice to tell Avery earlier, so that because I know we were both watching for the reversal, but I wasn't on there to let him know about it. But we ended up getting a nice little double bottom right around this 93 mark, and that's when it actually took off. And we also ended up getting, was it? I think it was unique flow that it ended up hitting off of. Yeah, we got unique flow right into the end of the day at 327, and that's when he actually started looking at it. So I caught that when I saw the alert go off. I'm like, damn, I wasn't on live to tell Avery to look at it sooner than that. But it is what it is. But hopefully this one actually gets right back over that 100 mark. I'm really, the mark I'm really looking for is 103. So once we get over 103, then we have that clear skies right up to the high of that 110 mark. All right. So that's what I'll be watching. Again, from last week, we ended up seeing buyers step in for 120 strike. If you remember those alerts coming through. So 120 buyers are probably still out there somewhere if they didn't sell at that 110 high. Otherwise, yeah, because they could still end up being bag holding at this point off of that 110 down to that 93 drop, which I highly doubt it, but I wouldn't be surprised that buyers really just stepped in to go back out long and retest the highs. So that's really what I'm targeting short term here is getting over that 103 mark and then pushing for 110. That's what I will be looking for right now. All right. So it's likely that we'll see this probably gap up, hit that 100 mark. 103 is the break that you want to look for, and then we push it to 110, which I don't anticipate 110 tomorrow, obviously. Granted, that's a $12 move. I will look for that to go into next week. All right. Another one, and these are pretty much just quick ones I just wanted to throw out there, was the bull flag that I actually caught off of Crocs. I just thought it was something that I wanted to throw out there. It just literally just looked too good to not just, have everyone keep an eye on it because that's just a textbook bull flag right now that Crocs is looking at. So it's just something to keep an eye on. I do see that the MACD curled down, so it may be a short-lived bounce. We could easily cross back up though, but easily the bull flag is pretty much just undeniably beautiful. We ended up getting one similar like this one. I think it was on Tape 2 Interactive, somewhat similar. There we go. You ended up getting this strong rip. You had a nice bull flag, and then it literally just shut out the gate yet again. And look at the move. It literally equaled the flagpole from the downside equal to the upside. So that's the potential that Crocs really has, and that's why I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention because that bull flag is just too pretty not to share. All right. Another one I'm watching, and this one's just the setup is beautiful here on team. You have a nice little bull flag formation here. I wouldn't say bull flag; it's more of a falling wedge action, in which we actually completed. We didn't necessarily complete it just yet. We're just shy, but we're near completion of that gap fill below. And so it's a beautiful falling wedge action. I expect this one to get a nice little pop here. So I will be more convinced if it gets over this level of 445. That'll be a beautiful one. I saw calls going out to 460 on this one, even though the liquidity is a little bit low overall. But falling wedge 4 hour time frame, it just looked too pretty not to also share as well, along with Crocs. So I'll be watching this setup here as well. This can be pretty much an under the radar type of play. It moved about $8 today. So I'll keep an eye on this one. This may not be one that anyone's pretty much watching. It'll fly under the radar, but can easily go double digits. So that'll be a pretty one that I'll keep an eye on. And then the other one I just wanted to share also was Etsy. Etsy's another one. If we remember, they actually had good earnings. They ended up popping another falling wedge type of action here. So I'm watching this one over 257. If we get that break over 257, then my next target will be 271 on this one. So Etsy's another one that's usually, this one just moves really really hard on the day, but it pretty much goes unnoticed because it's not necessarily a tech stock, so it doesn't get much attention as it should. All right, but remember they did have good earnings. This is pretty much falling back to like names like how we had that fallback from Affirm. We had a fallback on Roblox before they ended up picking up a reversal. So this one's looking like it's at that reversal point, and we should get that breakout to the upside here. All right. So I thought I mentioned that one also. But other than that, of course, the tech names across the board, the big cap tech names are all on watch following the QQQ alert for with Fortuna. We saw calls again. I think tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised if Amazon hit 3,600. That's really the target on that one. And real quick to show you Amazon so that you're aware, if I pretty much show you on the weekly chart, we're on a weekly breakout for Amazon. So if you notice the wicks pretty much all aligned right here, and we literally wicked off to retest support now. So I won't be surprised if this one really gets that beautiful breakout and we end up going out to 3600 tomorrow. It just wouldn't even surprise me. All right. I did say Tesla's range bound. I don't really see anything happening with Tesla right now, to be honest with you. They can literally keep this between 1100 and 1000. I don't expect anything crazy to happen here. Let me see if there's anything, any kind of pattern that's really forming. I mean, they literally just kept it flatlined. Literally flatlined. So if I were to say you definitely want to hold above 1048, that would really be the range that you want to hold. Otherwise, you open up range down to 1022. If you end up breaking over 1104, then you're opening up range and you can get, they may even run it up to 1200 tomorrow. So that's something you want to keep in mind. But this it's just literally in no man's land right now because you want to see it hold 1058. If it can't hold 1058, you're going to 1022. But then there's buyers that are really stepping out there for 1200. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Granted, we have the Super Fortuna. That's literally why it's going to be a wait and see. But your downside levels that you really want to watch is 1058 and 1022. Otherwise, 1200 is the upside target. All right. Other than that, though, that wraps up my watch list. I had quite a bit that I went through, so I'm gonna take just two tickers, and we're gonna call it a night here. Let me see. Actually, I did say BGFV. I didn't even look at it. I forgot to completely look at that. So if you, for those of you that are on my Twitter, I actually posted BGFV with the ascending triangle, and that was literally the candle that just took it to the moon today. So if you saw this candle from the downside at 40.85, we literally just ripped up to 46 like it was nothing. When I saw Taste P&L, it was just insanely crazy. I think he's already at like almost I think 100 grand in gains. Tamakaze literally just I don't know what he did, but he literally made this stock completely moon. I think he pretty much double dipped, or he ended up going onto his real meat account because this thing's on fire right now. Once we get over that 46 level, then of course I do have my other fibs here. I'm looking at 48.51. Over that 51 mark. Now I do expect FOMO to really kick in at that point because my next fib is all the way up to 56. And that's going to cause a lot of buyers to step in there over that 51 mark because now you're really thinking triple digits at that point. So that's really the level that I'm looking at is the 51 mark. We can easily gap up another few dollars per morning. Probably hover around this 48 fib I have. And then once we get over that 51, I think it's a wrap. Everyone's going to be deeply in gains. I know that the IV is already jacked pretty much. So even on the drops, I mean, you're gaining both sides right now. So let's see what it does tomorrow. But key level that I'm really watching is 51. Once we get over 51, you pretty much have clear skies. There's nothing really holding you back at that point. The shorts will literally, I at this point, I mean they're trying to still hold it, but once you get over 51, they literally have no control at all at that point because they're gonna be losing on that short insanely crazy. So 51 is that key mark. That's what I will literally say. Over that 51, I mean, my opinion is just going to triple digits, hands down. And I'm not even, I haven't been in this one, pretty much. I've been a little bit sidelined on this one. But I love the chart. I love the setup. Once I saw that ascending triangle and I saw that massive candle that just broke it out, I literally just, I thought about Tom and I'm like, yeah, he's literally just swimming in money. And I know that that entire thread of his was just going bonkers. So I didn't go in there until he actually tagged me, and apparently I have a King Clown role that he actually also has himself. And now I ended up going to the bot commands, and I don't know what role I ended up giving myself again. So I'm here for the fun though. Let's see over 51, and the FOMO is just gonna just get higher. All right. I'm gonna look at two tickers real quick. We're gonna call it a night. Let me see real quick. Someone called out CNHI. I don't know what that is. Not even a clue what that is. An industrial stock. This definitely is up Tamakaze's alley. Although I'm not gonna lie, this is actually a pretty beautiful chart. I thought it looked a little bit like a cup and handle, but it looks like you went over the board just a little bit. Let me see real quick if I can chart this one out. So that seems to be a very key level. The bodies are aligning pretty much beautifully right at that 18 mark. Now I do want to see, is this all-time highs? Let me see if I go out to the weekly. If this is all-time highs, then whoa. Okay, no, it's not all-time highs. All right, so let's see what our next level is that we're really looking at here. So next level that I'm really looking at for this one would be, damn, you really do have clear skies on this one. Yeah, there's some wicks resistance and supports that you're really looking at in between there. But your next resistance that you're looking at is not until 2550. So you do have clear skies. It looks like that's just gonna break out to the upside beautifully. If I want to see, let me break down the prior. Is there anything here that looks remotely like a resistance and support here? So if I really had to give you a level that you may want to watch out for, it would be around that 2220 level. So 2220 would be your next intermediate resistance. Otherwise, you're going straight up to that level of 2550. All right. So 2220 over 2220, then you're looking at 2550 on CNHI. All right. But that is a beautiful chart. I definitely give it to you on that one. And then apparently everyone wants to look at Fubo because okay, no, it's just one person. Um, let me see Fubo real quick. No, I think I need to go out to the 4 hour. Where did my chart go? Oh, I'm gonna have to expand it. See, sec. And I'm already opening this chart, but I definitely don't like it right now. Yeah, I don't like Fubo right now. That gap down, that's a horrible gap down that we get. That was just horrible. I know that they ended up getting like 100 million users, but that did not end up keeping the stock up. So that's definitely bad news. But it is entirely likely that you're coming back down to test 2275 ish. I would say 2280 would be that level that you're going to come back to test. Because the one thing that I noticed here is that you got the gap down, but you didn't even get the immediate bounce. So that is indicating more further weakness on this one. So they're likely going to melt it down right to the support there, that 2280 mark. And then that's where you're going to be getting the bounce. So that would be your support. I mean, obviously, you want to see it get back into that gap. But that looks just horrendous because you didn't get an immediate bounce, so it's just inclining more for the weakness. That's what I would pretty much say for you. So 2280 will be that mark where you really want to get into it. If you're already in it, then that'll be the spot where I say you double down at that point. If you can bear the pain, then that's where you double down and you take it even. You pretty much go right more into debt, pretty much. Other than that, it's kind of tough bag holding this one if you are already in it because we didn't get that result that we wanted off of the earnings, and that's why you're pretty much waiting for the bottom right now. So that overall support 2280 looks like hard support right there, and that's where you really want to wait to watch and see it bounce off of or consolidate rather before you take that entry. All right. But other than that, that's gonna wrap up tonight, guys. I'll see you guys. I will be back on live tomorrow morning, so I'll be there. Hopefully, we get another type of AFRM type of move. But granted, we had AFRM, we had a whale call today, we had a Super Fortuna go off today, we had the memes go off today. Today was just a beautiful day overall. So hopefully, we close out the week strong. I expect to see BGFV at 51 tomorrow. I know that Tom's gonna make sure it ends up happening. He's probably gonna go and dig out another, 500,000 to drop into that. But let's see what we end up gapping up tomorrow morning. I think that's really the key for BGFV. I would hate to see again that we end up giving back the gains from after hours action yet again. So that's the one thing that does concern me because that seems to be in the trend right now. So the pre-market action is really going to tell the story. If we don't end up gapping up tomorrow morning, and I mean and holding, then that's really going to be the red flag. So keep that in mind, and especially for those of you that are a lot more concerned, and the money that you have in BGFV is a lot more valuable to you. Consider taking out the funds and then just waiting for re-entry. I'm sure that if that gap up does not hold tomorrow morning, sellers are likely going to be the ones taking control over that until we get another intraday reversal, and Tamakazu will be there to call that bottom. All right. So those of you that have valuable money that you can't afford to necessarily lose, although you shouldn't have money like that in there, pull it out buy open if the gap up doesn't hold, and then wait for a re-entry that Tamakazu will likely give for you. All right. That'll be my best advice for those of you in the memes. All right. But go BGFV. Let's see 51 over 51. We just see the moon. All right. But you guys have a good night. I'll see you guys in the morning. Hopefully we have another great day and close out the week strong. All right, guys. You guys have a good night.